Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Coffee and Football, presented by Adam Lowy and the Lowy Law Firm. I'm your host, Blake Monroe, where I'm joined each and every day by Bobby Burton and Jaye Hamilton. Tell us where you're checking in from, what you're drinking, get those questions in. We'll get to them as quickly as we can. It's also Hump Day with Heels, so we'll have former Texas offensive lineman Tony Hills joining us here in just a little bit. But first, guys, big news yesterday for a positive reason.
Yes,
Michael Taff returning to the Longhorns. Y'all thought?
I think it's big. Michael Taff deciding to return to Texas. He had gotten some NFL grades that were very positive, frankly, but deciding to return to Texas. And Jerry and Blake, I wrote this morning on TexasFootball.com. I think that this is big for Texas, not just on the field of play, where he's an unquestioned leader. He's a safety, which, helps coordinate the defense and get things going. What I think's important in a guy like Michael Taff actually extends beyond the field, where young players can actually look at someone and have an example for them. How to work hard, how to film study, how to conduct yourself on and off the field, right? How to give it everything you got. I feel this is a big one for Texas from that standpoint, because look, would we have liked to seen Cam Williams return? Absolutely. Cam Williams, but at the same time, you wish him nothing but the best of luck, all that stuff. Taff is a guy that can be a glue guy for Texas in so many ways, as well as an example for the future. As it relates to Cam Williams, he is the other guy that made a decision yesterday. He opted to turn pro. I got to be honest, I'm a big fan of him and happy for him and his family as he moves forward in life. He gave everything he had to Texas, decided to commit to Texas at a time, frankly, when Texas wasn't that good. He and Kelvin Banks and DJ Campbell and Cole Hudson and Connor Robertson and Malik, they all chose Texas. NATO, Zulu, they all chose Texas when Texas wasn't that good. He gave everything he had, and now he's going to go make a bucket load of money in the NFL. Good for him, right? So little bit of news there going. We also have guys we're awaiting news on. DJ Campbell, I mentioned him. Trey Moore, and then also there are some potential portal entrants for the Longhorns we're waiting on right now. So bunch of stuff going on. What did you think of the Michael Taff move yesterday, Jerry?
I think it's great for program continuity, secondary continuity. That's just the whole defensive continuity. I mean, you want your leaders in your program to those guys to come back and play as long as they can at the University of Texas. And he's one of the leaders of the program, and he's one of the guys that's I call them culture warriors, right? I mean, he's one of those guys. I mean, sorry, I stole Chris Beard's line. By the way, congrats on the win over Bama, Chris. But I stole that line from him. But he's a culture warrior guy for Sark, and you need those guys there. And they may be more important today than ever, because you're transitioned so much through the portal. And if you have a top tier program, so many guys go to the NFL. You have so many 3-year players, if you're recruiting the right way, that are going to be gone. That those culture warrior guys, who are also really, really good players, are vitally important. Maybe more so now than ever. So I think it was great. I think it's great for the secondary. I mean, you look at safety next year with Michael Taff, with Jelani McDonald in year 2. You got your young guys like Phil Samee and Jordan John Rebel. You got Derek Williams coming back off the injury. See if they add anything in this portal or not. You got Jonah Williams, Ellis Hicks coming in. So suddenly that room from where it was a couple of years ago looks a heck of a lot different. And Michael Taff will be the leader of that group. And having some of that voice and leadership on defense, especially in the secondary, helping tie that thing together that they work so well with is big. But I think it's big as much off the field as it is on, because those culture warrior guys are extremely, extremely important. Also, one that passed on, somebody asked, I think in the last couple of chats, about Jermaine Lole. We do not expect Lole back, by the way. Well, somebody was asking, does he have a year? Does he have an extra ability? We do not expect that. That would be very much a surprise to me.
Good stuff there. For sure, guys. Hey, I just now noticed this. Someone put it in the chat that we went over 70,000 subscribers
did.
this morning. That is awesome. So thank you, number one, for bringing that to my attention. But thank you all for the support and everyone hitting that subscribe button. It is very, very appreciated.
Can we address something early to get out of the way?
Get it.
So because people are going to ask about it. Is it true Jonte got kicked off the Washington team? Absolutely true. I hope the kid figures it out. I want to see all these kids maximize their talent, but absolutely, it was not good.
Yeah,
And
he's spiraling. He's clearly spiraling.
Yeah.
But I will say this: we will never not root for a player or a young man on this show.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
Okay. We root for those guys to get it figured out and move forward with their lives in a positive way.
Yeah.
He's
got time, but he needs help.
Yes. Yep. So if you know him and you can reach out to him, do it. Is my opinion. But my best of luck to him and his family.
Hey, we have a question here from 57 Cal. He says, "What's the time deadline for decisions to be made today?"
11:59 p.m. I believe.
For the portal. The portal. I don't know if it's like 5 p.m. for the NFL draft. I mean, right? I mean, but 11:59 for the portal. To Jerry's point.
Well, that is good. Look, I just started drinking like 80 to 100 ounces of water a day. I'm sitting in the sauna 4 days a week to get prepared for that swimsuit calendar because it is going to be what's the opposite of magnificent.
For those that are listening on podcast, Bobby Petronic just posted that Jerry's going to do a swimsuit calendar at 100,000 subs with it's going to be free for all OGs. That's good stuff, Bob.
All right, guys, before we move on, Bobby, will you let everyone know about Adam Lowy and the Lowy Law Firm?
Yeah, absolutely. Adam and his firm, Lowy Law Firm, have been helping injured Texans for more than 20 years now. If you've been injured in a car wreck, truck wreck, automobile accident of any kind, Adam and his group will give you a free, no strings attached consultation to let you know if they think you might be due some level of compensation. Again, that's loweylawfirm.com. Adam Lowy and his team been helping people for 20 years plus now. loweylawfirm.com. Thanks, Adam, for your support of coffee and football and on Texas football in general. We appreciate you.
Okay, guys. Well, let's move on here. Jerry, I know you got a little on recruiting.
Yeah, we do. So the Texas staff will begin hitting the road tomorrow. Spoke with a number of and this is 2026's Texas, of course. They had some staffers, in-house staffers on the road last week in the DFW area for a couple of days prior to the national semifinal game. But the actual on-field staff, this will be the first time they get out for 2026 recruiting in January coming up tomorrow. I spoke with somebody close to five-star linebacker Tyler Atkinson, that camp out in Atlanta and Loganville, Georgia, the same high school as Nick Brooks, Joseph Mbaktu, some of those guys. And Tashard Choice, I think Kenny Baker, they're all expected in Atlanta at some point next week. By the way, I learned during that conversation, Tashard Choice, I believe, family expecting a new baby soon. So any day now. So congrats ahead of time to the family. But then Texas Choice is also expected to see Amari Latimer, the running back target, the bigger back, the downhill back out of Sandy Creek High there in Tyrone, Georgia. Tico Crittenton, defensive lineman in Lithonia. Those guys are all going to get visits from Texas. There'll be others, but that'll be early next week. Texas staff will be on the road in the state of Texas. A lot of guys starting tomorrow. Jamion Winfield, the D lineman from Richardson, will get a visit. Tiki Hola, a Bastrop, that D lineman, will get a visit. Kyle Flood, I spoke with Max Wright. We have huddle on Max Wright. Now, we haven't watched Max Wright before. This is a junior offensive tackle at Melissa High, same high school as Trevor Gooseby. He played his freshman year at Plano West, and a guy Texas took a liking to last year, Junior Tape. I think he's taken a big step this year. He's 6'7", about 305 pounds. Flood is expected to go see Turntine, Max Wright, all these guys up in the DFW area here late this week and early next week. Nicholas Robertson in the Houston area. But Max Wright, one of the tackles that Texas likes, they're taking a long look at. He'll be at the January 25th Junior Day. He moves. He's a better mover this year. Yeah, he gained confidence, got stronger. So he made a big jump from sophomore to junior year. Everybody's come through junior year in January, Michigan, Arkansas, all the schools that have been through to see him in January have offered him now. So he is going to end up being one of those 4-star offensive tackle prospects and a guy that is kind of making big strides from sophomore to junior year, and a kid Texas likes a lot. Somebody's asking about the chances for Tyler Atkinson. A little early on that for me. I do think Texas will be, as long as things don't change drastically, Texas will get an official visit. I don't think they're doing anything soon. I think Georgia, Texas, Clemson, Auburn, Ohio State, maybe Notre Dame, kind of those are the schools that'll be mentioned the most. Tennessee. So those are your 7, but Texas has done a really good job recruiting him, and they're going to be in it as long as they want to be.
Yeah. I've got to ask you, Jerry, we're getting when you look at offensive line, Max Wright's one. The other 3 are Turntine out of North Crowley, Toa Katoa out of Euless Trinity, and then Nick Robertson out of Klein. Is that right?
Yeah.
Klein Oak.
Klein High. And then there's a kid, a tackle up in Miami Straits High in Ohio named Adam Guthrie. That's Kyle. Guthrie told me last week Kyle Flood's supposed to come up and see him next week, I believe it is, for a basketball game. So Adam Guthrie, a big tackle out of Ohio that Texas has serious interest in. And there's some others. Aiden Crimpin out of Prosper. Some of these kids, Felix Ojo, I'm not sure if he's going to be in on the 25th, a guy that Texas is recruiting as well. The key there, the weave here, I believe, an offensive line in 2026 for Kyle Flood and Sark is, Texas is in a good spot for turn time. I believe he'll be in Austin January 25th for Junior Day. By the way, I just don't think he's put it out. The weave is, if Texas land turn time, what kid is okay playing right tackle in a scenario? Because turn time is going to play left tackle. And for the people that are like, oh, is he tall enough? Is his arms long enough? Just go look at Kelvin Beachum starting 9 years in the NFL. Whatever. Turntine's a great player. By the way, just released some new junior huddle, and he's a great player. He's as good a space player as I've seen in years, an offensive tackle. So for those other tackles, who's locked into wanting to play left tackle? Who is more open to playing right tackle? I think that will tell you a lot about where Texas weaves their way through 2026 offensive tackle recruiting, because they got to get 2, if not 3 in this class.
We got a question here from Sinbad, and it was actually what I was going to go to next. And Sinbad says, any news on portal departures? But let's talk about the portal in general. What's the latest?
Yeah, there's some news still out there that we're waiting on. We mentioned the 11:59 deadline tonight. As of late last night, and I can say one part this morning, I still expect one starter for Texas to likely put his name into the portal. At one point yesterday, I thought there would be 2. That I think got quashed or squashed or whatever you want to call it, and is not going to happen. I think there will be 1. We'll see how it goes from there. But there are also at a place like Texas, you're not always concerned about the starters, right? You're concerned about the key depth pieces for Texas, and that's something that we've got an eye on today. Is there going to be anybody that enters that is a key depth piece for Texas? I do think that one thing about this too to keep in mind as we talk about today and when the deadline is. There's a 48-hour window for when a team has to put a player's name actually into the portal.
Yep.
So a player will have to submit his paperwork today. Texas does not have to officially enter his name for 48 hours into the portal. So there's a little bit of that going on. So when we talk about all of this stuff, that's part of it. We'll be monitoring that. I'm particularly interested in how everything plays out with these portal. I also want to say this: there's incoming portal possibilities as well. By the way, we mentioned Anthony Evans at Converse Judson out of Georgia. going into the portal. Also, Amari Evans, the wide receiver out of Killeen Ellison by way of Penn State, he went in the portal yesterday. The starting and leading receiver for Penn State, another guy, went in the portal yesterday. So these are all guys Texas might take a look at, and we'll see where that goes. But that's it at this point.
And Amari Evans can really run. He's the one guy that intrigues me because he has real over the top speed. And so I'm not saying Texas is going to go after him 100% or anything. He intrigues me from Killeen. I think he's originally from Ohio, but I grew up in part of that time in Killeen, military family, and that kid can really run. He could run on the track in high school, and that is translated to Penn State in the college Power 4 level on a really good team. That kid can get over the top now. He's got real speed.
I got to say this. People are asking us to name names about who these people are. We're not going to do that on these kids. This is a private decision until they make it public. And I'm talking about the transfer portal. If they're entering or not, once they enter or decide not to, then we'll talk about it. But until then, I'm not going to. I made that decision long ago not to do that unless the player themselves made it public. And so we're going to wait. As long as they're a Longhorn, we're going to respect that. And right now, everybody is a Longhorn until they enter the portal.
And the other part is there's still negotiations ongoing.
Yes.
Things can change, even though we don't expect it on certain things.
Yes.
Some people also asking about special teams in the portal. If you expect Texas to look at kicker or punter.
Well, they've already taken a punter. Texas
kicker
was already in the two-time all-conference player from Utah that averaged 45 yards a punt. The question is kicker. And I think that right now all bets are off. 2 weeks ago, I would have told you, entering the Arizona State game, I would have told you that Bert Auburn's your kicker next year. Right now, I think they're waiting to see what's going on. And so I think that's one of those things that we're going to sit there and watch and see if Texas goes. They have to find one they want to, by the way, guys. Don't forget that. It's not as easy as that. And I'm sure they will also bring in a walk-on of some sort from the high school ranks. Texas is always trying to do that and using one of their preferred walk-on spots for that. Obviously, there's no such thing as a preferred walk-on next year, but they'll try to find someone like that fits them, I think.
Okay. We're going back to leaving for the NFL. Jackson Kimball with the super chat says, Hook'em OTF fan. Quick question on yours. Has he declared, just not announced? When is the last day to declare for the draft and enter the portal? Of course, y'all already answered that second part, but what about Quinn, Bobby?
I think people, he officially declared on Friday of last week saying he was going pro. I don't know if he's going to create a big video, et cetera, or what have you, but we expect him to be in the NFL draft. I tried to explain this yesterday on the message board at On Texas Football. Every time I spoke to someone in their camp this year, and I've said this and I've put this out to folks at On Texas Football, they've always said he has no interest in playing college football anywhere else. He's going pro after this year. That's my thought process to this day. So I think that, if something else goes on, then something else goes on. But I fully believe Quinn Ewers is going to the NFL.
Yeah. All right. And then going back to recruiting, Jerry, got a couple of questions for you real quick. This first one from Drew. He says, what's our chances on Javion Osborne? His tape is incredible. And is it Osborne or Latimer?
Why not both? I think they're two different backs. I think there's three guys, Osborne, Latimer, KJ Edwards, that are really KJ Edwards out of Carthage says he will be at January 25th Junior Day. Osborne hasn't put out where he's going to go. I think I'd be a little surprised if he's not in Austin on the 25th, although maybe he goes up to Notre Dame on the 25th, comes to Texas in February. We'll see. But I think Texas right now, it's Texas and Michigan. Notre Dame's trying to make it a third. I think Texas has been a pretty good spot. Best position coach relationship is with Tashard Choice, I believe. I was at 40 last week. So I think Texas is in a pretty good spot. Is it a done deal? I don't think it's a done deal. Are they right where they probably want to be and need to be right now? I do think they are. And I think Amari Latimer, that's Texas, Tennessee, Miami, Michigan. So I think Texas is in a pretty good spot there. KJ Edwards, I think if Texas makes a big push there, I'd be surprised if he doesn't end up at Texas. So we'll see which way this goes. How good is JB Osborne? I think he's tremendous. I think, look, he's going to be a 5'9", 210, 212 pound back that has excellent vision. He's a 3-down player because he's really smart in pass pro. He's an aggressive kid. He catches out of the backfield. He is a jump cut, skip cut. He can play in the hole. He can play in space. He can bounce it outside with quickness. And he's got an acceleration to the second level. He's one of the top handful of backs in the country in 2026 easily.
And then one other recruiting question for you, Jerry. This one from King Me. Who are the real contenders for the defensive end Carlton from Temple?
That one is, I think a little tougher to pin down early on. He's got great length. He's got big hands. He's got all those upside measurables. Physically, has a ways to go, right, to play in the SEC land. They got a lot of upside, a lot of ability to him. As far as his recruitment, he's scheduled to be at Texas January 25th. He's been a lot of places for games. He's been up to Texas Tech. He's been around to some other places. So that one's kind of more in the balance, I believe. I believe it's going to come down to who really makes a big push for him this spring.
And one other note before we get done with recruiting. K. Sue says, look, fellas, I need y'all to go to Vipe and vote for Chris Stewart for Offensive Player of the Year. So Texas fans, you need to head on over there and vote for him.
Hey, Stu, if you can provide us the link, we will promote that for you. This is obviously someone related to Chris Stewart, the wide receiver out of Shadow Creek down in Houston. So if you don't mind providing us the link, we can promote that for you a little bit. Nothing wrong with a little communal action there for you, for your son.
And I just dropped it in the chat as well. So I did find
Perfect.
it.
Thanks.
I got you covered, K-Stu, for sure. So we'll get you going there. All right. Eric Mitchell with the super chat, Bobby. He says, good morning, gentlemen. Hook 'em. What are we hearing on Money Muhammad? Seems like a lot of wild speculation around him.
Yeah, there is a lot of speculation around him. Again, we're not going to name names about who could or could not go into the portal at this point until they themselves announce for the portal. So I'm kind of hamstrung in that regard. All I will say, and Jerry mentioned this, there are negotiations and thought processes that go into all of this stuff, guys, and we'll see where it all comes out. But and we'll know within the next 18 hours, is my guess, how that all ends. So let's just have a little bit of patience. We will be here if any real news breaks along the way. So that's where it's at, Eric.
Okay, and then this next super chat here comes from Jaye while we're talking about the portal, and he says it's crucial that we pay or do whatever we have to in order to get Arch a better run game and more consistent options at receiver. It was a problem this year.
I think wide receiver, look, I think Texas actually overcame injuries this year pretty well. Isaiah Bond was on pace before a 1,000-yard season when he went down. I mean, people forget that because he went down against Oklahoma. Isaiah Bond was having a really good year before he went down. Would have been a 1,000-yard receiver. I don't know. I think Texas had really good wide. I think Texas had really good wideouts. They played in the national semifinal this year. Did they have Jeremiah Smith? No, one team had Jeremiah Smith. But I think Texas had really good wideouts this year. I think Texas is going to do everything they can to have the best team they can with in the confines, right, and within the restrictions, Bobby. I mean, it's not like it's everything's unlimited. Unlimited that's just collecting talent. That doesn't mean you're building the best team.
I just got to be honest. I think Ryan Wingo, guys, is a stud. ran into a little bit of a freshman wall about midway through the season. But at the same time, that he did that, he started playing more snaps. And he kind of broke through that late in the year. I think you're looking at a guy next year that, I mean, he's a number one receiver is what he is, in my opinion. I said that from the moment I saw him in fall practice or spring practice, whenever it was first. He is a number one receiver. He'll be very good. As far as the run game is concerned, I think that some of that is on offensive style. Some of that is on having a quarterback that can't really challenge people in the run game. I think some of that is personnel and not having a big heavy back to go with the Trey Wisner like they had this year, or like they didn't have this year. 3rd and 1 became a real issue for Texas this year. And I'm not saying it won't be every year, but I think 3rd and 1, you were going to give it to Trey Wisner. Trey Wisner was your best short yardage back. But Trey Wisner isn't made to be a short yardage back, right? That changes next year if Cedric Baxter comes back. If James Simon is as good as some people think he is. If Jarrett Gibson potentially gets better. So I think that the run game will naturally improve with personnel. I also think that the run game will improve with a different quarterback because he's going to challenge and hold the backside. You run outside zone, or you run a zone read look. Teams weren't respecting Quinn Ewers. There's nothing. I mean, there's nothing wrong to say about that. That's just not his game. So with our Arch Manning, I think they have to, obviously.
I said yesterday, or one, I can't remember. Linebacker depth drop against Texas may have to shift a little bit next year. Might open up the middle a little bit more ideally in some of Sark's scheme because Arch is at least, he's a threat to go pick up 4 or 5 yards. So if you're too deep, if your linebackers have too much depth, then Arch can take advantage of that and get a 4 or 5 yard gain, 6 yard gain, what have you, when you need it. That's just something to watch a little bit next year too, is what, and go back and look at the linebacker depth and coverage next year versus this year.
Okay, Jerry, break out the glasses. Well, not yet. I know you're putting them on hold for right now, but hypothetically break out the glasses and tell us about Gooder.
Yeah, why Gooder? Why do I have a few pair of Gooders? Well, they're stylish sunnies, starting at only $25 a pair. No slip, no bounce, all polarized, all fun, 1-year warranty. I got to say it, 30-day free returns. You definitely don't need it. There's 3 new high-performance styles. The high-performance sunglasses are designed to make you feel like the best athlete of all time. I guess that means everybody needs to buy a pair of Gooders. All 3 frames have UV 400 polarized lenses. Pro tip, overpriced sunglasses don't make you run faster. The Bolt G, the Bug G, and the Astro G, the 3 new high-performance styles. And if you watched the TGL, the Tiger Golf League last night, Kevin Kisner should have worn a pair of these nice sunnies to hide from the crowd. It was ugly. If you want to support the show and try a pair, Gooder is giving On Texas Football all caps listeners free shipping. You can go to gooder.com/OnTexas and use code OnTexas all caps for free shipping. Gooder offers a 30-day money-back guarantee. I got to read it. And 100% satisfaction, I guarantee. Again, that's gooder.com/OnTexas and use code OnTexas for free shipping. It was a shame that Georgia guy Kevin Kisner shanked that bunker shot last night. Georgia didn't have a good ending to the season in the Tiger Golf League either, did they?
And Bobby, if you don't mind, will you let us know about Tecovas?
Absolutely. Anywhere worth going is worth going in good boots like Tecovas. Born in Texas in 2015, Tecovas are handcrafted with every stitch on point. Tecovas boots are made for a good time and a long time. I wear mine all the time. I love the fact that they're already broken in for comfort right out of the box. If you guys haven't checked this out, check these out. You really should. They got a great website, a lot of different cool designs, and very, very comfortable boots. Tecovas makes it clear, or makes it easy for anyone to find their favorite boot with all kinds of sizes and styles. Tecovas are simply the best boot around. Right now, get 10% off at tecovas.com/Texas football when you sign up for email and text. That's 10% off at Tecovas, TECOVAS.com/Texas football. With Tecovas Best in the West guarantee, you get free returns and exchanges for 30 days. So don't worry about that. If you they don't fit, you can always send them back. Tecovas.com/Texas football. See site for details. Tecovas, point your toes west.
I will answer one. I'm going to answer this question real quick.
Go ahead.
Well, oh, sorry, not this one. AJJ. Since the recruiting cycle's pretty much over, could you tell us the names of the highs that Texas never got? There's one that was really interesting as the recruitment went on. Javion Nilsson told Texas multiple times he was coming. That's one guy that I will say that one was one that for a long time looked like it was. And I'm not saying, and I will say this. And I went by that school multiple times. He wasn't telling other schools he was coming. It was Texas. Everybody thought he was going to Texas around the Cocoa High program. So that was the one I would mention. There's one I won't mention here because it's not one that I put out as a high, but somebody told Texas they were coming, but that was a little more dangerous. So that's not one that I was dealing with.
Yeah.
Oh, man. All right. We got some questions about Ryan Niblet. And so let's start with him because we actually have quite a few. It must be Ryan Niblet Day. Papa Horn, is Ryan Niblet as fast as we thought he was? And is Freddie Dubose getting healthy?
Well, Niblet hasn't lost any speed. The question is, what position is he right now? He got moved to running back out of wide receiver, out of the slot. We'll see what this means for him. I think he will move back to receiver. I think that Ryan Niblet also could be the new guy and Jaden Blue kind of boutique role. So Jaden Blue is, because he had such speed, yet still was a running back, they could play him at a traditional running back role. Niblet, you can't play at that traditional running back role. You'd have to play him more like they played Keelan Robinson, right?
Yeah,
which is a kind of a boutique player and then also be a special teams demon kind of guy. We'll see what happens with Ryan Niblet. I think that he could. We'll see if he's the one that steps up, though. The alternative for him would be to move to slot and compete there more. And I don't know that he's going to win that job. So, while I said he could move back to receiver, I think he's going to continue to rotate between the two, maybe a little bit.
There you go. And Bobby, you actually answered all three Ryan Niblet questions we have in that response. So there you go. And then Tyler A says Texas has to be considering adding a receiver in the portal, right?
Yeah, a speed guy for sure. A speed guy for sure. Somebody can get over the top. Somebody can put pressure on D coordinator. Vertically, yes, absolutely. And that doesn't mean it's going to be filled now. It could be filled in the spring, obviously.
The two that we've mentioned for that role in particular are Omari Evans at Penn State that just entered and Anthony Evans from Georgia. Anthony Evans is from Converse Judson. Omari Evans from Killeen Ellison.
Yeah.
And so there's also some coming back home vibes that are potentially there for those two.
I'm going to throw this one up real quick too, Blake.
Go
Will
ahead.
Art stay 2 seasons at Texas from Greg? Yeah, I would say the question is he going to stay 3? Like, there's some people, he'll start 1 year. That we just had this discussion before, and I was having the discussion last week on the road in Dallas with a high school coach, kind of laughing at the notion that Arch would just play 1 year because he's like, do people not do the research on the Mannings? I said, we talk about this all the time. Archie was talking about, hey, I hope he stays 3 years as a starter. I mean, so look, it's going to be at least 2. The question is it's going to be 3. This is not a one and done deal as a starter. No chance.
All right, we got some super chats we need to get to. And William Niche says on another Texas site, there was an article stating that the college football season was too long. A parent of a starter said it will take years off of an NFL career. Y'all's thoughts?
I don't agree with that.
No.
No offense. Well, there's two pieces to that. The football season is too long. It will take years off of a career. Okay. I don't agree with it will take years off of a career.
No. Yeah. Totally.
Okay. I don't agree with that.
No.
I do. Now, that doesn't mean, I'll say this, it doesn't mean there won't be more wear and tear. But here's what you have to remember is that everybody is going to be having more games in their college career, not just Texas players. Well, Texas may be in the college football playoffs, et cetera. There are other teams that are playing 13 games now. And if your son's playing 14 or 15, it's not a appreciable difference. So I would disagree with it'll take years off the career, off your NFL career, because every single player is going to be similar. Okay. As far as is the season too long, I think that the number of games is not the problem. It's the spacing out of the games. Like, I think that they could do away with the conference championship games if they're going to go to a 16-team playoff. And I know they probably won't because it's a cash cow and part of how these players are going to get paid in the future. But that if you go directly from the end of the season and 2 weeks later, you have 16 teams playing in a college football playoff, that's fair to me. This wait 2 weeks or wait 3 weeks and then wait another 10 days and then another 10 days. I mean, I think that's too much. I think they should be done. I think they should have been done last week, basically. Right when the NFL playoffs really get into high gear needs to be when college football ends. That's just my personal opinion.
Rillo Hookham, great point. More rotational football, not playing as many snaps. Great point. He stole what I was going to say. I was going to look. I don't know who wrote it. I don't really care. Somebody was used for a mouthpiece for future NIL on that type of story, in my opinion. These guys aren't playing as many snaps as they once were. There's more of a rotation now. So no, I think I agree with what Bobby said. The season taking mileage off no. Somebody was used as a mouthpiece on that. No.
And our next super chat comes from Damon. And Damon says, which is more concerning going into the 2025 season? Offensive line, defensive line, or the secondary?
Defensive line.
Yeah, I would say interior defensive line.
Yeah.
Right? So they shored up in the portal in the spring, shore up this depth in the spring. I think Texas is going to have pretty good front line, but what's that depth going to look like until they can get the freshmen ready to be not a few snaps, but like impact high snap rate guys. So that's kind of the question for me is how's that shake out spring portal wise? Will be key there. So until that's answered, that's it for me. Offensive line. Look, I think who's your number 3 offensive tackle coming out of the spring? I do think there's something because Texas had really good luck up until late in the year this year with being very healthy on the offensive line for a 2-year period of time. Kelvin Banks missed one game in his career. Christian Jones played a lot of games in a row, a lot of starts in a row. Cam Williams until the knee became an issue last third of the year, which that was lingering before he got rolled up on too. Who's that third tackle going to be?
Good stuff. Thank you, Jerry. And then our next super chat comes from Jerry's Jack Links, and we appreciate you as always. Quinn is Chris Sims, underappreciated, and Arch may be our VY.
Hey, look, I hope so. That's fine with me. I mean, that was a pretty good trajectory that Texas went on for about a 10-year run. And I do think, Jerry, the one thing and Blake that we don't appreciate enough is how it starts with quarterbacks. I mean, frankly, that's really the piece that Texas was missing much of the 2010s. after Colt McCoy. They kind of went through not bad. I mean, all of them were Longhorns. So I want to be clear about that, and I appreciate every single one of them. But they didn't have the Colt McCoy, Vince Young, Chris Sims caliber quarterback really for much of that stretch. And that doesn't mean they're not great Longhorns. It just means when you start having great teams, it usually starts at the quarterback position. That's how you keep consistency, in my opinion. You go from one good quarterback to the next. So we'll see how that goes. Hey, I've got this one too. Lando Griffin, guys, asks, any word on Trey Moore? He is one of two players that we're currently tracking that could decide for the NFL draft. Moore, as well as DJ Campbell, the offensive lineman. The last word I got on Trey Moore yesterday is that he was very close to deciding to stay at Texas. Now, he's got to make that announcement. We're not going to make it for him. But that's what I had heard the very latest on Trey. He had told some folks late last week that he was likely going pro. But after consulting with a number of people, I'm hearing now that he's most likely to stay. And much like Michael Taff, I think he's just a good player and a good practice guy and a glue guy and gets after it the right way. You need to have those guys, man. And so Trey Moore, I hope he ends up staying in Longhorn. DJ Campbell is one, guys, by the way, I have no clue on. I don't know. I mean, Jerry and CJ may have better feel for that than me. But from all my checks, and I have not heard anything on DJ Campbell. So I'm kind of up in the air on that one. At one point, I thought he was very likely to go pro late in the season or midway through the season. I think it went back to about 50-50 starting in December. So we'll see how that all turns out. But those are the two guys that we're waiting on today, Trey Moore and DJ Campbell.
Yeah, I'd said last week prior to Ohio State game that, I was hearing more stuff that he would at least be higher than 50-50 to stay. But we'll see. We'll see what he ultimately does here coming up in the next few hours, I would say. South KMX has a good one we need to answer here. Blake, and you can help with this. Jonah Williams' schedule this spring. So that's from South KMX. His schedule, the plan is to sit in on safety meetings with Blake Gideon during spring football while playing baseball with the Texas team as a left-handed pitcher off the mound, not a hitter this spring. Blake, does that fall in line from a baseball side with what you've heard?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much it right there. You nailed it.
I mean, he's going to be a pitcher. He's not going to be a pitcher. He's not going to hit this year, right? They're going to start.
Yeah, well, I think originally the plan was to come in just solely as a pitcher. Now I think it's going to be more. Let's see what he has at pitcher, but let's see, did the injury affect him in any way to possibly play outfielder? Let's kind of just wait and see how the dominoes fall. But it sounds like pitching is definitely the first priority.
Cody Hook says, is Nick Townson an early enrollee? He is not. He is one of the three players that's not an early enrollee off that number one recruiting class. The three guys that aren't here are Nick Townsend and Devin and Jordan Coleman, the offensive lineman from Cedar Hill. They're staying and finishing their high school year out. Those are the three guys that are not here early. Nick Townsend will be on the track for Decaney, where he ran 10.92 fully automatic time at 235-ish pounds last spring. Let's see if we can get to the 10.8s at about 235, 240 this year. I will be going over there for a track practice here pretty soon once the weather actually looks like track and not what's the opposite of track? Crap.
Okay, Jerry.
Well, I mean,
track
is sunny weather, breezy. Let's go out and sit outside in the stands and watch guys run. I don't want to go outside right now.
Oh gosh.
Track weather is a cool spring breeze, I guess is what you're talking about.
Yeah, with a little yacht rock on in the background. Yes.
Oh, man. All right, guys. I need to let everyone out there know about Mint Mobile. 2025 is here, and Mint Mobile has a resolution for you. Skip the gym, skip the fad diet, skip the BS resolutions that you're going to forget about by February. Instead, make a resolution to save yourself some serious cash by making the switch to Mint Mobile. And right now, you can get half off of their 3-month unlimited plan. With Mint Mobile, you're going to save money and you're going to have phenomenal service. And that's what matters, right? And when I say save money, here's how. Mint Mobile is dropping huge savings for the new year by offering any 3-month plan for only $15 a month, even their unlimited plan. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. So it's going to be fast. You can even bring your current phone and your current number. Switch to Mint and new customers can get half off of an unlimited plan until February 2nd. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month and get the plan shipped to your door for free, go to mintmobile.com/ontexas. That's mintmobile.com/ontexas. A $45 upfront payment is required, which is equivalent to $15 a month. And new customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigs on the unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details. And with that said, Jaye, will you let everyone know about Joy Mode?
I will. Rich Money Cash, real quick. He asked yesterday. I didn't answer it. Zealous Hicks interview. Go back to last Tuesday night's Longhorn live stream. And that was Zealous was on there with CJ, Rod Babers, and Aaron Hogan. So just go back to the archives, the last Tuesday night Longhorn live stream. Great interview with Hicks. All right, now it's your favorite time. Gird up your loins, Texas basketball. You're in Norman. I hope you brought your Joy Mode. You need a win. Guys, say goodbye to weak erections with Joy Mode Sexual Performance Booster. This all-natural supplement is designed to enhance blood flow. Gotta have that. Giving you a firmer, more reliable erection. But Joy Mode isn't just about better sex. Daily use supports healthier blood vessels, boosts heart health, and enhances your athletic performance. That's massive. Expertly formulated and backed by science, it's proven to improve erectile function by 50% in just 60 days. Simply mix a pack with water and feel the effects in 45 minutes. Take control with Joy Mode. Get a boost anytime, anywhere, and never miss a beat. Glad that ended there. Joy Mode features your 4 simple proven ingredients. Unlike prescription options that involve doctor visits and managing refills, Joy Mode provides a straightforward, effective solution. Join the over 200,000 men who trust Joy Mode to boost their performance without the side effects. Start a subscription and save up to 30%. Keep your performance at its best without any interruptions. If you're looking to take your game to the next level, Texas basketball Norman, try joymode.com and use code ONTexas at checkout for 20% off single purchases or 30% off subscription orders. Again, that's tryjoymode.com on Texas, all caps, for 20% off purchases or 30% off subscriptions.
So we've gone from it being a third quarter necessity for Texas football to the Texas offense in basketball.
Texas basketball needs it, period. They're over. Time. Like it's a rough road if you don't win the night.
Oh, well, I hope they Joy Mode up.
We
got a lot of questions. A lot of questions about wide receivers today. We've been talking about Ryan Wingo. Bobby Cody Hook says, what are the chances that Wingo's going down as the best wide receiver in Texas history?
Oh, I think it's very small. I mean, I'm not trying to be rude to Ryan Wingo. It's just, when you say the best, that's like there's been 300, 400 receivers in Texas football history. I think there's a real chance he goes down as one of the best, though. Roy Williams and Jordan Shipley, as of right now, in my opinion, go down as the best. What Roy was he number 3 pick in the draft? I mean, that's pretty darn good, right? Jordan Shipley had an amazing career at Texas, won a championship and caught the most passes, all that stuff, right? But do I think he can be in that category where everybody remembers him and everybody thinks he's a terrific player? I don't think there's any doubt that he has that kind of capacity or ability. The other thing I would say that people don't realize necessarily is about he was a guy that we talked about Michael Taff kind of doing everything the right way. And he's somewhat similar, Jerry, and I want your feedback on this. Remember when Kelvin Banks came in and all he did was work to be the best he could be and kind of not get caught up in the fluff around it? Ryan Wingo had a little bit of that very pro mentality early as well. So he was just all about going out there and proving what he could do every day, kind of blinders on, singular focus. Now, I'm not saying he was perfect. Nobody ever is. Kelvin Banks wasn't either. But I do think he can be that kind of player for Texas and for himself. I just got a text earlier today. Apparently, he had a 4.0 GPA this past semester. I mean, he's doing things right. And so I can't tell you if he's going to be the best to ever play at Texas. I can tell you that he's putting himself in the best position to maximize who and what he is, and then let the chips fall where they may.
I think, I agree. And I think next year's I think we're going to see an even different player, because Sark's scheme it's complicated. And when the season started, he had about 33% of the playbook from what we were told. Obviously that went up as season moves along, but still not 100% comfortable in it. He had a couple of route run issues there late in the season. I think working with Chris Jackson this spring, getting another full spring in the system, in the scheme, getting very comfortable with the entire playbook, or the playbook that's going to be run with Arch Manning. I think you're going to see Ryan Wingo take a really big leap from year 1 to year 2. Now, does that mean 450 yards to 700 or 900 or 1,000? I don't know that, but I think you're going to see the guy take a big jump freshman to sophomore season.
The other thing I would say, and I would counsel him and Arch Manning and whoever else is going to be playing wide receiver for Texas this next year, you guys need to spend all summer together, all spring together, and get down some feel for one another outside of just normal practices. And I'm not talking, and I'm talking about going and just throwing the ball. It's what Quinn Ewers did with Matthew Golden. Frankly, you want that kind of camaraderie and that kind of, I don't know, just that. What do you call that? It's kind of you want to know where the other person's going to be. You want to be Arch Manning's guy, and you want the whole offense to be that way, right? Well, go get together and make that happen for one another. And I think that's where that's at. Chemistry.
Right.
Yeah, chemistry is the word. I'm sorry. Chemistry and just familiarity. Like, what are you going to do on third down? How am I going to look at you and see how you break your route off?
Yeah.
When I know that you see something different than maybe what I do, and I can react to it as a quarterback. That kind of innate understanding has to happen, in my opinion, for them to maximize.
And our next super chat comes from Michael. He says, we hear a lot about Neto, but what about Zena?
Solid redshirt year, adding weight, strength to his long frame. I mean, he gained 20, 25 pounds pretty quick. So that was the first part of it. But then there's continuing to add strength to that frame. I mean, he's such a long frame guy, long arms, long legs. It takes a while to build that muscle and build that strength into that frame. And, look, I think I heard he had a solid redshirt year. Where is that going to leave him in terms of on the field next year? The spring practices are going to decide a lot of that. He got real competition there. Ethan Burke, obviously, Colton Vosick. I mean, there's real competition. Lance Jackson coming in. So there's a lot of talent that you're looking at rep to rep there. But he had a really solid redshirt year, continuing to add strength onto that frame. He is not an add water instant player guy. He is a multi-year developmental guy physically, but he's got a lot of upside when it hits.
You want to talk about guys that look the part. Imagine Zena, because a lot of people haven't seen Zena because he hasn't really played yet. So let me give you a think of Ethan Burke, but naturally thicker and even as long arms, if not longer. That's what Zena. If you're drawing up a defensive end in this day and age, you may draw up Zena Umul.
Yeah.
Now, to Jerry's point, everybody's got work ahead of them, get stronger, faster, that sort of stuff. But that's what you want. That's what you want to start with. I mean, like walking off the bus, you'd pick him over Colin Simmons. Just walking off the bus. By the way, we should mention Colin Simmons announcing that he's coming back. I know that they don't necessarily have to announce that they're coming back, but clearly Colin Simmons, Ryan Wingo, those guys could have tested NIL waters and may have, actually. You just never know behind the scenes. But those guys coming back, I think, says a lot about where Texas is as a program. Not only does Texas have the NIL capacity, but also those players feel like they're being developed, right? I mean, those guys could go anywhere in the country they wanted to. The fact that they're coming back and playing for Texas, I think, speaks well of Sark and his staff overall. Yeah.
All right, our next super chat.
And Mark Channing, Roy. Add that one to it.
Jack here with the super chat says, I can see Michael Terry as being a great H-back.
Absolutely. A big running back, H-back. He's worked out at wide receiver so far. That's where he'll begin the spring. We'll see where that goes. A lot of that will depend on where his frame goes. I believe I find it hard to believe he's going to stand there 230 pounds at the frame he has. And I could see him getting up pretty quick in that high 220s, 230 range, 6'2.5", 6'3" right now, about 212, 214 in most of his senior season. That's being a multi-sport guy in high school. Now he comes in to a Power 4 strength and conditioning program like Texas, nutritional program. I think if he doesn't weigh 225 plus in time, I'll be very surprised. And I think he's one of the more versatile guys as an offensive player Sark's recruited at Texas. I think he could fill a couple, 3 roles. One of those could be a big back, Bobby, at times too. And the pony.
I've got to ask, the only thing I don't know, because I haven't seen him in person, I've only seen highlights, Jerry, how physical is he really? Yeah. You can be big like that, but not be physical enough to be an H-back.
Yeah.
Like Juan Davis, for example, was essentially an H-back, right? But Juan's smaller coming out of high school than what Michael Terry is. But Juan may have been more physical.
Yeah.
That's the thing I would like. Nick Townson, I will say this. If he ever were an H-back, I don't worry about his physicality.
Yeah.
I've seen enough.
Yeah.
Michael Terry, because he's played all over the place a little bit and not necessarily seen that same level of competition. I would have to wait and see his physicality to see whether or not he's an H-back kind of guy. Not that saying he can't. I just haven't seen it.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. Yeah.
And Tube in Texas says, Joy Mode helped me punch it in from the 1 yard line.
Blake, I can't believe you fell for that.
Blake, you need to be better, man.
I had to read it. It was a super chat. I had to.
You don't have to read it. We do not have to read super chat.
It was good for the chat. Thanks, Quinshon Judkins, for entering the chat.
With that said, though, Bobby, I need you to let everyone know about Babbel.
Well, can I say that in like 10 different languages? Punch it in from the one. Time to talk about Babbel, the extremely popular language learning app. Be a better you in 2024 with Babbel, the science-backed language learning app that actually works and helps everyone learn the language of their choice. Don't pay hundreds of dollars for private tutors or waste hours on apps that don't really help you speak the language. Babbel's quick 10-minute lessons are handcrafted by more than 200 language experts to help you start speaking a new language in as little as 3 weeks. More than 16 million people have already used and tried Babbel. I've been using it to improve my Spanish. Let's get more of you talking in a new language in 2025. Babbel is gifting our listeners 60% off subscriptions at babbel.com/ontexas. Get up to 60% off at babbel.com/ontexas, spelled BABBEL.com/ontexas, babbel.com/ontexas. Rules and restrictions may apply. Thank you for your sponsorship of On Texas Football.
Jay Lee here says Quinn is not underappreciated. It's just that after Sam, he was a 150 rating guy. We needed better. Quinn ended 149 for the season, which is the same as Sam's last 2 years.
Yeah, I think the difference between those two also is, Sam is that Austin grow up guy. Quinn kind of went to Ohio State first. Sam, while he was highly rated, was not supposed to be perfect. Quinn Ewers had the perfect recruiting grade. I think part of it is the perception upon entrance. And I would say that it's very similar to Major Applewhite with Sam Ellinger and Chris Sims with Quinn Ewers. And so you had that element going on. But I think that Quinn Ewers had a terrific career at the University of Texas. Definitely won more games than Sam. And you can say, well, he had more talent around him. Sam had a lot of talent too. He had NFL players at running back and wide receiver, et cetera. Tight end with Andrew Beck. I mean, my point being here is that Sam had a great career. Quinn had a great career. You don't have to choose over them. Like, you can like both, right? You don't have to just say, oh, well, I like him more. Okay, that's fine. Everybody can have their own opinion, but you actually can just like both too.
Good question here. When do winter workouts begin? Either late this week or the beginning of next week. So all the freshmen, that 25 class, the guys who weren't working out with the team, and then the other portal guys, Travis Shaw and Boomeister, they have to all go through their physicals, all that stuff, EKGs, whatever they do, the physical part of it. And then there's a 48-hour period after that. So it could begin later this week. It may be early next week as well. Kind of depends on when all that stuff is taken care of and everybody's good to go.
Miracle Martinez with super chat. Thank you. And it says, Blake, update on Colt's recovery, continuing to pray. Hook'em. Thank you so much, number one. But Colt's doing really good. Back to working out. He's pretty much released, except he can't be in full contact sports for about another 3 weeks. So no football, obviously not a problem this time of year, however. And he starts baseball on Friday. So he's pumped. They're doing early morning workouts. They started that this week. So he is more than excited, to say the least. And I like it because it makes him go to bed early. So it's a win-win for both of us. Jackson S. with the super chat says, I know what the Patriarch said, but if Arch is a projected first rounder next year, why wouldn't he leave?
Because the family is all about being 100% ready to go be a player in the league, not just be a draft pick. And Peyton Manning, Bobby, was he could have been the number one pick after his junior, and he came back his senior year.
Well, both Eli and Peyton were first-round picks coming and stayed another year, guys.
Yeah, the thought in that family is go be ready to be a player, not be a draft pick. And it also helps when you financially it doesn't matter, but at the same time, they'd be the same way anyways, because they're all about development. They are 1,000% about development at that position, and that is not a sprint. That is definitely a marathon.
If you're looking at what you want to be a 15-year pro career, why rush it?
Yeah.
One thing, if you think, oh, I may only get 4 years of this in the NFL, you think Arch Manning and the Manning family are thinking about 4 years in the NFL, or you think they're thinking about how to make it 15 to 20? Well, the uncles tried to make it 15 to 20. They're thinking about 15 to 20, guys. That's why 1 year of apprenticeship, so to speak, makes a lot of sense for them.
No. And I don't think it's out of the question, and I'm not saying it's going to happen. I don't think it's out of the question that he starts 3 years at Texas. I don't think that's out of the question. I'm just going to put it out there.
Yeah, I kind of think 3 would be pushing it, but I get Jerry's point. There's no rush. And if there's no rush, you can't really push that.
Now, the different caveat now is if Texas makes a couple of semifinal level playoff runs, he suddenly got 30 starts under his belt in 2 years. So that's like 3 years in the old day.
Bingo. Yeah. Yep.
All right, y'all. Well, we've had a lot of people, thousands actually, thousands and thousands of people join us since we first started. So let's go back. Let's recap some of the stuff that we talked about at the beginning of the show. Obviously, the big news that we opened with was Michael Taff staying, but we're also waiting on some decisions. Bobby, I'm going to let you take it from there.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's just, I'll try to do this quickly. Michael Taff announced he's returning to Texas next year, the safety out of Austin Westlake. Big deal for the Texas defense and the Texas culture, I think, overall of working hard. Cam Williams, young man out of Duncanville, the offensive tackle, only a one-year starter at Texas, but he will go on to the NFL. He announced that yesterday. Congratulations to him. Other news, we are now waiting on Trey Moore and DJ Campbell to announce their decisions. Frankly, I've been told that Moore had been waffling back and forth and it kind of landed on staying as of late yesterday. However, he has not announced that yet. And so until he does, we'll continue to monitor that. I do not have a lot of intel on DJ Campbell's decision at this point. Furthermore, we're waiting on portal entries from the Longhorns. Today is the deadline for both the NFL draft entrance as well as portal entrance for University of Texas. There's at least one starter at the University of Texas that we believe, at least as of late last night. I don't have an update this morning, by the way, on it. As of late last night, it was still expected to go in the portal. There's been a lot of discussions going on with a number of different parties right now across the roster, not just these two guys or two or three guys, but across the roster. Coaches working overtime, players and their representatives as well. So we'll see how that all goes. But this is what's going on right now and what we're trying to monitor as much as possible. We will have news sometime, like yesterday, some news broke during the show. The news will break whenever it breaks. We will have information on texasfootball.com. If it's big enough news, we'll break in like it was yesterday with Cam Williams and Michael Taff. So believe us, we're on that right now, and it's something that every Texas fan needs to be aware of, in my opinion.
All right, Hioli Frioli 93 says, how many combine invites do you think Texas players get?
Man, what did they get last year? 12? That 11 draft picks, is that right?
Yeah. So combine this year, Quinn, Banks, Williams, Majors for sure.
Helm.
Yep. It was 11, Bobby. 11 last year.
Helm 5, Bond 6, Golden 7 for sure. Defensively, Alfred Collins, Broughton 9. And then I'm just doing the 4. Makuba and Barron, that's 10, 11. The 11 for sure. I think that
Sorrell.
Sorrell 12. I think that number may go to 14.
Wow. It's a lot.
Jaden Blue.
Oh, yeah.
That's 13. The number is going to go to 14, maybe even 15.
Jeez.
It's going to be a record.
Man, talk about turning around a program and forward. I mean, look, what was it? When was the last time Texas didn't have any draft picks?
Oh,
5 years ago, 6 years? I mean,
2, yeah.
Or they get 1 or 2. I mean, now you just can't turn around without hitting somebody that's a future NFL player.
Yeah.
It's a great job by Sark and his staff, whether it's Brandon Harris, Chris Gilbert, John Michael Jones, all those guys. They deserve a little pat on the back too, because while the players are the ones that actually have to go out and do it, and the coaches are the ones that have to recruit them and put them in positions to succeed. It's a true team effort, in my opinion.
And King Me says, what are you hearing is yours draft grade? Maybe a likely landing spot. I will say this morning I was reading the ESPN Plus article, and they had, I guess, polled a couple of scouts or whatever, and they were saying late day 2 grade.
I think 3rd, 4th round, because look, quarterbacks move up boards, and on the on-air workouts are going to be his thing. And so then the scouts are going to have to weigh the tape versus the in-person workouts. And I think it's going to end up being 3rd or 4th for Quinn.
All right. Bobby, one last time, let everyone know about Adam Lowy and the Lowy Law Firm.
Absolutely. Adam's a good friend and a sponsor of On Texas Football. We appreciate him very much here. If you've been injured in a car wreck, truck wreck, automobile accident of any kind, including an 18-wheeler or ATV, give Adam and his group a call. LowyLawFirm.com. Reach out to them, LowyLawFirm.com. They will give you a free, no strings attached consultation to let you know what they think of your case and if you're possibly due a level of compensation. Again, LowyLawFirm.com. Adam, thanks so much for sponsoring Coffee and Football, and also thanks for sponsoring our State of the Program each and every Wednesday. Jerry and I will be on doing that a little bit later today too, talking a little future, looking into the future for the Texas Longhorn football team coming with the State of the Program today. So thanks, Adam, for doing that.
All right, we got time for a couple more questions here. A lot of people asking about Spencer Shannon today as well. What do y'all think the role might be for him going forward? What you're hearing on him, etc.
He established himself maybe as the next blocker up, I think, in this offense this year. They didn't call on him very much because a lot of people are like, what happened to Amari Niblet? Well, Spencer Shannon's a better blocker than Amari Niblet. And so Amari Niblet kind of got caught in that hinterlands, right, where he couldn't really find a way onto the field because you're not going to take Gunnar Helm off to play Amari Niblet when Gunnar Helm was as good as he is as a receiver. And so Spencer Shannon's the next guy up at blocker. We'll see what that looks like this spring, I think, or, anything can happen between now and then. But that's where Spencer Shannon's at right now, to the best of our knowledge.
And let's see here. Speaking of possible tight end, Philip Markle said earlier, met Nick Townson yesterday in the Woodlands. Guy's a monster, said he's open to playing tight end or linebacker and feels like he's got a chance to get some playing time as a freshman. We are becoming tight end U.
Yeah, that's one of the things I like about Nick. Now, he played tight end in the Army All-America Bowl there a few weeks ago. I think Texas is going to play him at tight end. But one of the things I've always loved about Nick Townsend, he doesn't care. He just wants to go hit people and win games. Like now, maybe he's listening to this show and he's like, "Oh, I'm a top 100 guy in the country at either position. I'm good either way." But I don't think that's it. That guy just loves ball. He loves physicality. He is a hellacious athlete with a huge upside. He's legitimately a top 100 guy in the country as a prospect at linebacker, rush in, or edge, just to say, or tight end. Look, I think Texas is going to play him at tight end based on everything we're hearing. That doesn't mean it can't change, but I do think he'll be on the field as a freshman in some capacity. If he was, I think Jordan Washington will likely be your starting tight end. If Nick Townsend was in for spring, I think he'd have a chance to push and be the number 2 guy and immediately be what Juan Davis was, but a huge upgrade as a pass receiver and a down the field player, because I think he's going to answer the bell physically from day one in an SEC level. He's just got to learn the playbook. He's elite.
And our last question for today, lots of wide receiver questions today, so we'll end with one. Papa Horn, what's one wide receiver on the roster that you think could surprise?
I think Parker Livingstone is underappreciated by Texas fans, not necessarily the Texas staff, if that makes sense. He was the next guy up. Like, he was ahead of Aaron Butler, Freddie DeBose. He came pretty close to getting some action this year. Had another injury occurred while Bond was injured. So of all those guys that people aren't thinking about necessarily as first line guys, I'd put that one under my hat, because I also think Parker Livingstone is another guy that if he gets with a Arch Manning this offseason and develops a rapport, I think that changes his trajectory as well, because he is a deep ball guy, Jerry. He's a deep ball 50-50 guy, and Arch likes to go deep. So just keep that in mind. Guys like that fit your quarterback can be more valuable. Then you can extract more value from them. So that would be the receiver for me that I'm kind of looking at. And that of course, you have Khalil Lockett, Dalen McCutcheon, and Jamie French coming in as well. So that's a little bit different. But those are my thoughts.
Jaye?
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to go with somebody on the current roster. Well, I guess technically is now. I think Jamie French is going to be really good early.
Okay.
I just, look, I've seen Jamie a lot up close. I've watched him work in a workout with grass up to your ankles in Jacksonville. I think he's got football intelligence about him. I think he's going to have some versatility. Of course, it's all how quickly do you pick up the playbook, right? There's so much with Sark's playbook, but if he picks it up like I think he will, I think Jamie French is going to be pretty good early for Texas.
All right, guys. Well, that's going to do it for today's episode of Coffee and Football presented by Adam Lowy and the Lowy Law Firm. We want to thank them along with Tecovas, Gooder, Mint Mobile, Joy Mode, and Babbel all for sponsoring. And thank you all again. Over 70,000 subscribers. That's nothing short of phenomenal. We really do appreciate it. If you're not a subscriber, we would love for you to be. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Then you can ring the bell anytime. So that way you get notified when we go live, post content, whatever it may be. And also don't forget to head on over to ontexasfootball.com. You can become an OTF OG using that promo code OTF OG, $49.95 for a full year. You can't beat that. Great community over there. Remember, we can't be live all the time, unfortunately. So get your questions answered over there as well. Get the latest news, notes, all that good stuff. And
I gotta say something. I got these new 40 Acres Apparel, the On Texas Football shirt in yesterday. Phenomenal. I had to wear this last night. So man, I was 40 Acres Apparel, guys.
There you go.
Very comfortable. Made the Joy Mode read even that much more comfortable. Great collars.
Oh boy.
Much all around the collar with that read.
All right. Well, we will be back same time, same place tomorrow. So for Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton, I'm Blake Monroe, and we'll see you then.